So Abbe numbers are a funny sort of term. But let's talk about prisms. Now, you've probably all seen a nice little scientific experiment, or you've seen the little things, and in fact, with all the cut crystal that people like to have with those little cats and funny things on mantelpieces, because it's all very pretty, and the reason they're pretty is partly because you get all those little coloured rainbows. And the really, basically, is because of all those different little cut surfaces, when the light comes in from far away, and this is where we need to talk about light. Light is not light. Light is made up of all sorts of colours that make light. White light is actually a combination of every colour light. It's made up of the right amount of red and right amount of blue and the right amount of green and the right amount of yellow and right amount of purples and the right amount of all of the colour wavelengths make up white light. However, what can happen is we can actually start separating those wavelengths out. And that's what we do with prisms and those, diamonds and all the rest of it. And the reason they're supposed to be pretty is because you can see the sparkle and the different colours and all the rest of it. And that's because all of those wavelengths coming in together, all looking like white light, they hit the prism, and what actually happens is some wavelengths get bent just a little bit more than others. And as it fans out, we can start to see different colours on different ends. So you tend to have the blues at one end, moving into sort of greens, and into the yellows, and finally into the reds. And on either side of those colours, we've actually got ultraviolet, so blue and violet at this end, so the just visible blue end. And you've got ultraviolet light, which we call UV. And UV we know is a high energy light and does damage to our tissues like our skin. And then at this end, past the red end, you've all seen those old red heat lamps. Everyone's seen red heat lamps to generate heat, and they sometimes put them in, even in pet areas or something to have a warm glow in pet shops and stuff like that.
Snake enclosures.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually at this end, which is called infrared. If you like, so which we use which actually generates heat, if you like. Infrared generates heat as well. So if you like, the infrared generates heat, but we also use infrared in night cameras and things like that to try and the invisible red spectrum, where we can still use the light, and we can use special cameras to capture that light and convert it into an image, black and white image that we can see, but our own eyes can't actually see it. So you've got on those, and this, if you like, is the visible spectrum. It's visible spectrum, okay. However, so that's all good, you're right, so we know about diamonds and why they're pretty, but what does that actually have to do with lenses? Well, to some degree, when we actually take lenses, a lens, if you like, has very much the same shape as a prism, only the surfaces are slightly curved. So that gives it a focusing power. Whereas if they're just straight surfaces, they're called prisms, and prisms move images across and move light across. They bend the light. You can see how it has bent all the light gradually down, and that's because this is base down here, whereas if the light was going through this is base up. Okay, so we won't get too technical into prism right at the moment, but that's where prisms sort of come from. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this lens, all of our lenses, where it's a plus lens or even if it's a minus lens, if you like, the minus lens has a prism in it too. It's actually got the prism going the other way. Okay, so getting that one there.
So plus and minus both have prisms, is that
both have prism, I suppose. If we just quickly draw so if you look at a plus lens, if you like, and if we were then to try and divide it into the closest prism shape to that, it's like that, and you can see above the eye line, if you like, flashes there. Anything the light that comes above that has actually got base down prism. Anything that goes below that, it's got base up
So is
prism.
that above and below the pupil you're
above
talking?
above and below the pupil are where the light's coming through. So if the lens is centred on the pupil, or again, the other thing I suppose, if you actually have the eye down here instead, so it's looking through the lower part of the lens, effectively when they look through, they're inducing a little bit of base up prism. Now typically for most people it's a very minor amount, it's not significant, but it's one of the issues I think I showed you once before with an example of a plus lens in one eye, or say a +4 in one and a one and the other, and you actually have the frame crooked, you actually can have one eye looking through it one way and the other eye looking through the top part of the lens, and that's actually enough prism to